Josh, and I'm Josh Horton here.
And I'm Josh Hippensteel.
And we're here to talk to you about this week's matchups in college football. We'll start with Oklahoma and Cincinnati. I think Landry Jones is a much improved quarterback since filling in for the injured Sam Bradford last year. And I think Jones will guide the team to victory over the Cincinnati Bearcats. How about you, Josh?
You're exactly right. Oklahoma's been very impressive in their first few games, and I believe that Cincinnati's going to be no match. Next matchup we have is Virginia Tech against Boston College. Virginia Tech, I'm sure everyone has heard on the national scene this year. Season's been a big disappointment. Close losses to both James Madison and Boise State. Tyrod Taylor leading the attack in the air. They can't get much done on the ground. Offense has, as a whole, been disappointing. And then we talk about Boston College. They've gotten much hype going into this season. They've got all the energy on their side. Everybody expected a big year out of them, and they now sit 2-0, ready to take on the Hokies. Mark Herzlich is back from battling cancer. He now leads the team in the linebacking core, so look for them to get out to an early start against the Hokies, and I believe that Boston College can take it.
I think you're exactly right, Josh. Mark Herzlich, great story, come back from cancer. I mean, it's just a great story. Virginia Tech down year. And now we'll move on to Auburn at South Carolina. I really think that Auburn's going to take down South Carolina. Cameron Newton is a dual threat. It means he can punish him through the air, and I think that with the weaker secondary that the Gamecocks have, and the Gamecock defense averaging just 2.2 yards allowed per carry on defense, I think that's going to be tough for Auburn to do anything on the ground. So I think Cameron Newton has a good game, and Tigers cruise to victory. What do you think, Josh?
I don't believe that they cruise to victory, but I believe that they take the win. I don't think it's going to be as easy as you think, but we'll find out. Now to move on to West Virginia versus LSU. West Virginia has a good start to the season. They're undefeated so far. Good start with their passing. Talented group of receivers to throw to. Sophomore Geno Smith taking the snaps. He's a top-rated Big East QB to start the season. Then everybody knows Noel Devine in the backfield. He has 100-plus yards in the first 3 games. So look for LSU to try. They got to play a real good defensive game against West Virginia. They got to stop pass and run because they're both pretty threatening on West Virginia's side. On LSU's side, they have a good rushing attack in Stevan Ridley. He has 318 yards so far this season. And West Virginia is holding their opponents to 62.7 yards a game, so you gotta think that LSU's got to come up pretty big on offense themselves. Even though I don't think there's as much pressure on West Virginia's side, so I think that West Virginia takes it.
I think this is more of a David versus Goliath matchup here in terms of conference. You got the SEC taking on the Big East. I mean, obviously the Big East has been down, but I really like this West Virginia team, and I think they're going to take down the LSU Tigers.
It's going to be a battle in Baton Rouge.
Yes, sir. And now we'll go to Oregon State at Boise State. Battle on the blue turf, everyone. Oregon State is so worried about this Boise State team that they even put down blue turf on their practice field. Talk about preparation. I really don't think the preparation is going to pay off, though. I think that Boise State's going to take down the Beavers in this game. I just think that Kellen Moore is just going to have a great game, and he's a great quarterback. What do you think, Josh?
Great quarterback, definitely in the Heisman race. I'm personally an Andrew Luck kind of guy, who I'll talk about in a few minutes, but I believe Kellen Moore's a great quarterback, very young quarterback. He's got great experience already, taking snaps. I absolutely pick Boise State. They're definitely a national championship contender.
We shall see if they get any Big East love.
We will see. Now to move on to Andrew Luck and Stanford against Notre Dame. It's going to be another battle in South Bend this weekend. Notre Dame coming off 2 disappointing losses. Stanford is looking to make it 3 in a row for Notre Dame. Andrew Luck has been passing for about 263 yards a game so far, and he leads Stanford's offense into they're ranked 3rd nationally in points per game. Rushing is also 14th per game in the nation. On Notre Dame's side, however, hasn't been as good. Last year against the Cardinal, Jimmy Clausen threw for 340 yards and 5 touchdowns, and that's definitely going to be different with Dane Christ this year, who's throwing maybe 1 or 2 a game.
We've got a great challenge this weekend playing a Stanford team that I think is averaging just under 52 points a game.
New coach Brian Kelly leads Cincinnati to the Sugar Bowl last year. Not as much success in Notre Dame so far, but he doesn't have as much talent as he did last year in Cincinnati. So we'll have to see we'll have to see if he can show his true colors in this game, because it's going to be a real test. And Notre Dame, a bunch of close defeats this year. Let's see. I think it's going to be another close game, but I think Stanford emerges victorious.
I have to agree with you, Josh. I think that this obviously isn't the start that Brian Kelly was looking for. It could be a little bit of karma coming back to bite him. I mean, leaving the Sugar Bowl team in Cincinnati, and I just think it's a down year for Notre Dame. But somewhere Rudy Rudiger is trying to get the team back on track, and maybe the luck of the Irish will get the lads going. And now moving to my upset of the week. Temple Owls over the Penn State Nittany Lions. That's right, folks, I said it. The Penn State Nittany Lions will lose this week to the Temple Owls. Why, you ask? I'll tell you why. PSU quarterback Robert Golden is a true freshman and is not proven, really, in big games. Struggled in the Alabama game. And I also think that Bernard Pierce of the Temple Owls, he's just a phenomenal running back. He ran for 169 yards and 3 touchdowns last week against UConn, which is no fluke. I mean, UConn's a good team.
Great team.
And also, the PSU running game just isn't where it needs to be. When you got your starter in Evan Royster, averaging less carries than Sean Green, and you just can't have that. Evan Royster's really got to wake up here and get the PSU running game going. I really think Temple will beat PSU 27-21. What do you think, Josh?
It's a good pick. It's a good upset pick. Temple's 3-0. They're looking very phenomenal to start the season. I'm not real confident in Penn State's chances, but I think since they're playing in Happy Valley, I think that changes the whole tempo of the game. Happy
Valley's a great atmosphere. Obviously, you got all those fans there, but I don't know if it'll be such a Happy Valley come tomorrow.
We will find out. It's going to be a close one. Now to move on to Pac-10 battle, opening first Pac-10 game of the season for both these teams in Oregon and Arizona State. Oregon is outscoring their opponents 190-13 in the first 3 games. Unbelievable. Sophomore LaMichael James ran for 2 touchdowns and 227 yards versus Portland State last weekend. Darren Thomas, new quarterback, taking Jeremiah Masoli's place, had a bunch of legal troubles, and now he's over at Ole Miss. He's kind of working his way into the offense. We haven't really seen much out of him yet, but Oregon is dominating on the run, so not a real big test for him yet. Arizona State coming off a disappointing loss at Wisconsin. They lost 20-19 off of a blocked point after touchdown. So they're going to come back and trying to look for revenge against the Ducks this week. Look for them to run an up-tempo spread offense. Oregon's very good against the run. They're second in the nation going against the run. So we'll have to look for Arizona State to throw the ball a lot more. And game time, 7 o'clock there out west, 104 degrees.
That's going to be a hot one.
Alright, well, I'll move on to my upset for the week. He's got Temple over here. I've got Kentucky over Florida. Kentucky has had a lot of trouble at the Swamp in its program's history. And they are at a 23-game losing streak to Florida. No turnovers yet this season under new head coach Joker Phillips, and the offense is unbelievable right now. They are just working in every area. Florida, going into the season, picked as an overrated team, and they've definitely
overrated.
They've definitely showed some suffering so far this year. New quarterback John Brantley has to replace Tim Tebow. That's not an easy task. And to add to the problem, he's kind of shaky with center Mike Pouncey to start the season already, and hopefully they can find their groove soon, or else they're going to be in trouble against this Wildcat offense. Rushing will be a key with Jeffrey Demps on the Gators side, and going into this game they're going to be extra motivated because Urban Meyer looking for his 100th win.
Yeah, Urban Meyer obviously had his troubles. Wasn't sure if football was what was for him anymore, but he's back and he's gearing for that 100th win. I really think, though, that Florida is going to be just a little too much for the Kentucky Wildcats. Although, I see where you're coming from. It's a great pick, obviously. Tim Tebow, hard guy to replace. Leader on and off the field. I mean, in Florida, you think of Florida, and you think of Tim Tebow. But we shall see. And now, moving on to the game of the week. Alabama versus Arkansas. Let's go with you first, Josh. What do you think?
Okay, well, Alabama now has Mark Ingram back, as everyone saw last week. a dominating force every year he comes out on the field. Although they do have Richardson as the backup, who can easily carry the offense as much as Mark Ingram.
Ran all over Penn State.
Absolutely. So I mean, you're gonna have you can look for both of them to be a factor in this game. I haven't seen too much out of Arkansas's defense yet, but Ryan Mallett leading Arkansas's offense, big things were expected out of him beginning of this season, and he certainly hasn't disappointed anyone. So I think it's going to be a battle of offense. I think it could be a high-scoring game. I think Alabama has the advantage on the defensive side, but I think Ryan Mallett has a good bit of motivation to kind of take it to this Alabama side. It's a game that's just been anticipated the whole year. It's great rivalry in college football, SEC battle. I believe Alabama's going to win just because they have a more solid offense and a better defense, but definitely another great game to watch.
Obviously, Alabama's a great offensive team with Ryan Mallett under center, and you got that Mark Ingram and Trent Richardson. I mean, it's just going to be so hard for Arkansas's defense to stop them because, I mean, you got to stop either Mallett or you got to stop Ingram. You got to stop both of them if you want to win, and those are two guys that are going to be very hard to stop. I mean, they are phenomenal football players. I just think that Arkansas doesn't have it. I think that Alabama improves to 3-0 or 4-0. I'm sorry, 4-0. And that's it.
That's game of the week. Okay, so that does it for our show. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Josh Hippensteel.
I'm Josh Horton. Don't forget, the Owls come out during the day tomorrow and defeat the Penn State Nittany Lions.
Join us again next week, folks, when we will talk about Week 5 in college football. Thanks for joining us.
See you later, guys.
That went pretty well.
Okay.
That went pretty well.
Let's watch it now. Pop it in here.
I was pretty good.